What's crack-a-lackin', everybody? Mighty smart guy Matt Zapala here, hailing to you from Dallas, Texas, and welcome to episode 34 of the Millionaire Goals podcast. Milton, can you say 2000?
2000, baby, 2K.
Can you say 2000? We thank you on YouTube. Our subscribers on YouTube, 2,000 subscribers are following now the Millionaire Goals podcast. We're only 34 episodes deep into this thing. So we thank you. This is a podcast dedicated to help you think of like a millionaire, to help you think like a faith-based type of person, to think better of yourself as a father, as a man, combining all the things that we've been talking about here, issues that's pertain today to today's man in money and faith and finance. So we've got a lot of topics today, man. I just want to say, man, we've had a rambunctious last couple of weeks. You just came back from Chicago, and I understand you hired your first employee.
I hired my very first employee, man. I'm excited for it.
Do tell, Milton, who did you hire as your first employee to make sure your business is up and running and taken care of?
Very first employee hired since I started my business in 2020. I hired my very first admin, and it actually happens to be my 75-year-old mother.
I love it.
And the reason I hired my 75-year-old mother, in 2017, she had three heart attacks, and then she had to get double bypass heart surgery, emergency. After that, her cardiologist said, "You will never be able to fly again."
Can you show my screen, Jordan? We need to see this picture here, man.
Yeah.
There it is. It's mom's right there, bro.
There it is, man.
The first employee.
My very first employee. So
did you have the conversation with mom? Said, "Mom, I have my son hat on, and Mom, I have my boss hat on."
Yes.
Did you have the conversation yet?
That's the night that we had the conversation when we went to Chicago.
That's awesome,
We
bro.
went to a Chicago Cut Steakhouse. So six-ish years later, my mom calls me, I think on the 15th, and she says, "Hey, I just got out of the cardiologist's office and I got some news for you." I'm like, "Okay, what's the news?" He gave me the green light to finally fly again. I'm like, "Okay, so what does that mean?" She's like, "I can finally go back to my home country and visit my family. I can finally travel and come see you without the hassle of having to jump on a Greyhound." So I decided to one-up my mom, and I knew I needed help. I've always had the dream of being able to give back to my mom, to my father. Unfortunately, my father passed away in 2016, so that's long gone when it comes into the physical aspect. But for my mother, I know that I can still do so much for her now that, she's at an age where she has a lot more time for herself. Mm-hmm. And now that the cardiologist gave her a green light, I decided, why not, take this as an opportunity for my mom to fly with me anywhere that I go, whether it's across the country or around the world. So I decided to get in contact with my CPA. He's like, "Dude, she's a 1099, make her fill out a W-9, send it over to me, and we'll make her official within 24 hours. So
there it is.
Signed the paperwork that night.
When's the last time I filled out any tax form, W-2, W-9?
My mom?
Crazy, huh?
Years.
Been a minute.
So the thought of being able, your first hire to be your mother in your own business, and the thought of being able to travel with your mother and take her to places she's never been to before. My mom didn't really travel much. And then being able to fund that through your business and at the same time pay her out bi-weekly, what she's doing for me. I think that's any son's dream, to be able to hire mom, pay your mom, and then have her experience the entire world.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a blessing. I'm excited for that.
Dude, I love it, man. I know when my mother first started getting involved with me in business, it was just for her just to kind of see what I was doing. Yeah. It was just something that, what's my son doing? Because, her thought was, his retirement is my retirement.
Yeah.
Or unretirement.
Right.
And so it's interesting because my mother has been part of my journey too, as well as an entrepreneur. And the team loves taking pictures of my mom in the office.
I've seen that on Instagram.
Right?
Yeah.
They see my mom, and like, what is this woman taking notes for? She's not building a base shop, but my mom's growing. She's getting so much out of just being around the environment, which we're going to be talking here in a minute. Let's see if I can find this picture here of the team taking pictures of my mom, just taking notes. She's just like in the notes, like studying. Okay, here we go. Can we show my screen, Jordan? There it is.
Look at that.
And look at my mom, intense.
Focus.
Got a notebook in hand. My mom's in her late 70s.
Wow.
Name tag, dressed, ready to rock. Sitting all amongst the young people. That's what my mom would say. She's in touch. So, bro, shout outs to our moms.
Shout out to my mom.
Congratulations to you, bro.
Thanks, brother.
I know that's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. I know how that feels, brother.
Yeah.
So, how about you? Would you love to hire your mom, your dad, children in business? Well, make sure you follow this podcast, and you should follow our YouTube channel, both Millionaire Goals Podcast as well as the 7 Figure Squad, because we're going to be breaking down those type of topics. Because if you're going to hire somebody, why not your family? If you're going to build wealth, why not build wealth with your family? And some of you say, well, Matt, you don't understand my family. You don't understand my family. I know. That's where you need to grow. Yeah. That's where we need to grow. It's not like he did this overnight. It's like I did this overnight. But ultimately, what's your vision for your family? And maybe in your family, there needs to be healing. Because if you have a hard time extending grace and love to the people that you're connected with by DNA, it's much more difficult to have those external. In my opinion, my experience, it's been harder to. If you don't have those internal relationships, forgiven and loved in a very deep way, it's going to be very much hard for you to extend it externally. And so I'm excited for you, bro. So all right, so we have a show ahead for you today. What's the power of sitting in a high productive environment? What's the benefit if you come into a high productive environment and you're just kind of like some Joe Schmo? What does it mean to you if you step into a high productive environment? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what the $5 million retirement looks like. Speaking of retirement, what Dr. Michael Burry, known from the movie The Big Short, the guy that bet against the stock market in 07, 08, 09, who called the Great Recession. When everybody says everybody's going to always pay the mortgage, everybody's always going to pay the mortgage. Next thing you know, mortgage-backed securities got exposed. Credit default swaps is something that he invented. And next thing you know, Dr. Michael Burry makes billions off the stock market, losing. And guess what? He just made another bet. We'll talk about that. A realtor misused money to splurge on homes, cars, cosmetic surgeries, and gets a 3.5-year prison sentence. New York and California losing $92 billion in revenue and tax revenue, as well as asset management firms moving their firms out of New York, California, even Chicago, moving out, over $1 to $2 trillion being loss of assets under management in those respective states. And what does that mean to the surrounding neighborhoods? We got some videos to talk about. Amber Rose and Jesse Lee Peterson, the difference between a slut. You should see the way this guy says the word slut. And Jackie Chan, believe it or not, doesn't even know who the Kardashians are. He was having a conversation. And how long does it really take, Milton, to build muscle? So is there any particular topic you want to unpack?
Yeah, there's actually two topics where we have 2 videos linked to each topic. I want to speak about how everything going on in Canada is starting to affect the U.S. Everything that's going on in Los Angeles, New York, and also now in Chicago is starting to affect the U.S. when it comes down to the mask mandate. Are we going to be back in session? And if we come back in session, how are we going to prepare for another shutdown if it ends up happening? And are you sure that your career, your job is pandemic
Mask mandates again?
Mask mandates, baby. And number 2, for all my gentlemen out there who are either in relationships or you're still single and trying to figure out who the one is, how, for even the ladies for this one as well, as a man, how do you become the ultimate communicator so that you can conquer the art of communicating with a woman? And ladies, how to be able to decipher the communication skills and how we communicate so that way you don't get upset whenever we try to explain ourselves to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need to get this out of my chest. I'm glad you brought up mask mandates. Listen, if you feel safer having a mask on, well, do it. If you feel safer with the vaccine, do it. But don't force anybody to do it. That's against American principles. That's not what America is about. We're not here to have everybody say, hey, you need to do it. By the way, it's a mandate. It's not law. And the scary part is Amazon is selling masks. Whole Foods is selling masks. Hollywood now is demanding masks. Atlanta movie companies demanding masks. Federal government buying quote-unquote supplies. Rutgers now is demanding masks. Guys, is something coming? It could be. And so all I'm saying is this. If you feel safer with a mask on and taking the vaccine, do it, and do it for yourself. What do we learn? What do we all learn from having this tyranny, this government trying to push everything, people losing their jobs, their businesses, being set back 2-3 years in their current endeavors, losing their life savings, all to realize what? A lot of stuff is bogus. What do you call it? Is a pandemic, scamdemic. A lot of stuff is bogus. A lot of it was a lot of waste and a lot of unnecessary laws being passed to make you feel this small. Listen, America, we are Americans. We had fought in a revolution. Our country fought to start this country, to get away from tyranny, to get away from the redcoats. So therefore, we can be patriots. And so if you're in a situation where you feel safer, great, do it yourself. But when it comes to pushing it on people for the quote-unquote public good or signing a social contract, listen, I don't know, man. That's not America. If that's you, knock yourself out. But don't push it on other people. And definitely, government, don't push this on us. And so if that's happening, we've been, the last 2, 3, 4 years, we've been talking about, is your career recession-proof? Is your income recession-proof? Are you pandemic proof? Are you lockdown proof? Again, if this is coming again, watch out. Stand by to stand by. What's your thoughts on? But this pissed me off.
So I'm assuming we start on that specific topic. I sent you a link there. We can pull it up on the screen. It will be on the very first one from the notes. It's a post that Bailey Taman posted, and I want to go based off of that. But going and speaking about the mandate and the lockdown that we had last time, Matt, one of the things that I've noticed that it affected a couple things in our lives. It was our economy, our mental well-beings, and it also affected our livelihoods. From the economy, we noticed that there was a recession within it, resulting in widespread business closures, reduced consumer spending. It disrupted supply chain, decreased economic activity. It also increased unemployment, and it also affected our market, so which also affects our pockets. Now, when it comes down to our well-being, one of the things that we also noticed, and a lot of psychologists noticed, is that it increased isolation and stress. It increased the anxiety, the feeling of anxiety, and the feeling of depression, which also led to, unfortunately, a lot of suicides. And it also disrupted routine, which also disrupts a lot of your mental health. So, Matt, from you being in the field that you're in, around the entrepreneurs that you're around, and the people of the status that you're around consistently, I noticed that a lot of what was going on during that time that a lot of regular 9-to-5 people were being affected by, you and your company, the company that you're with, wasn't really affected. You guys were consistently working through the entire thing, 7 days a week, following the same routine. Nothing changed for you guys. So the fact that nothing changed for you guys, there must be a hack, or there must be something that you guys have, or you guys must be doing something or following a specific principle that someone else can attain, or they can change their perspective on how to attain money, how to create avenues of income for themselves. Because obviously, a lot of these people who were affected, including myself during that time, our jobs weren't pandemic proof, they weren't recession proof, and they weren't lockdown proof. So that being said, someone who's watching right now and who's nervous about another lockdown, whether you're a small business owner or someone who has a 9-to-5 job and you're barely making ends meet, and you know that if there's another a lockdown or there's another mass mandate where you're limiting, restricting on the amount of work that you have, economically you're going to suffer. So someone watching you right now saying, help me, what are my next steps? What can I do in this world?
By the way, before I jump into that, Jordan, can you show my screen? A lot of conversation about masks. Research shows that under most circumstances, mask wearing has no significant adverse health effects on the people who wear them. Masks are primarily intended to stop people from spreading droplets that contain the virus, which is essentially important, especially important for people who are asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. These people may feel well and may not know they're infectious. Okay? While all masks provide some level of protection, properly fitted masks provide the highest level of protection. Wearing a highly protective mask are important for higher risk situations. Community mask wearing is an effective non-medical way to reduce the spread of this infection. It's effective in preventing some spread or getting the virus. Okay, so this has come from the Delaware website, because I just Googled, did mask work with COVID? All right, did it help slow masks? Wearing the mask, did it help slow COVID? All right. So this is the CDC. CDC said that you should wear the protective mask that you wear regularly, fits well and comfortable. They recommend wearing a face mask in public. Massages are a bit difficult for people at high risk of serious illness. For people at high risk, okay, so they're suggesting this mask. But also, what do we also discover? That the droplets and the virus actually goes through the mask. Mm-hmm. So it's like having a chain link fence and you're shooting BB guns through it. It'll get through.
Regardless.
Right, regardless. The whole social distancing thing. So to answer your question, what did we discover was valuable during COVID, during the lockdowns? Toilet paper was valuable. I mean, joke or no joke, toilet paper was valuable. Disinfectant was valuable. Weights were valuable. Remember, I attempted to buy weights, how expensive buying weights were, benches and home gyms. Expensive. That's when Peloton and Mirror exploded.
Yeah.
Anything related to convenience. How about being a delivery driver? Because the restaurants weren't having people sit down. They depended a lot on delivery drivers. So you might go out and say, hey, listen, push comes to shove. And you might create a side business. And listen, everybody depending on DoorDash. But if you say, hey, you're a restaurant, I'll be your driver full time. Not DoorDash. It'll save the restaurant money, and you'll make more money. You can pocket the difference. Being a delivery driver. From a financial standpoint, stack your cash. In addition to that, stack precious metals. I'm constantly buying gold and silver. By the way, I've got nothing to sell you because I don't have a sponsor here or a link to sell you, but I'm a big avid believer in cash, precious metals. We even bought things that might be of value to people, weapons. Whether you use knives and guns, weapons is because it makes people safe. Those ammunition was very expensive. There's an uptick in ammunition. So if you can legally purchase a weapon, arm up. The time to not buy it is when everybody's wanting to buy it.
Yeah.
The time was to buy it was a year ago, 2 years ago. So getting ahead of this.
So you say, okay, so you say, buy metals, gold, silver, everything that could be of value to people. Yeah. But now that sounds great for people who are making money, who have two incomes coming in, whether it's wife and husband, and they're doing well for themselves. But what about the people who are barely making it by? What do you suggest for them to do? How can they make sure that Joe Schmo is ensuring that his entire family is going to be okay and secure when it comes down to food, protection, and also having a stream of income, having a stream of income coming in their way, and still being able to make ends meet during the pandemic.
So you're just talking about income, not about buying resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, cleaning services cleaning businesses were jumping.
Yeah.
I mean, people that were buying masks and selling masks, they made a living of convenience. So, however you can help people's lives. So jot down the 3, 4, 5 biggest challenges people had during COVID. And so find those problems. An entrepreneur solves problems. So if you find out the 3, 4, 5 different problems, it takes a little bit of research on your end, a little bit of thought process on your end. But how were you inconvenienced through COVID? How were you inconvenienced? How were you set back? Maybe you were a teacher. Maybe you can create education tutoring services. That's when you started your business, going from working at the gym to now becoming your own personal trainer and visiting people's homes. If I'm a barber, if I want to become a barber, maybe right now is learn how to get some barber skills. Barbers are getting paid a lot of money. What I realized about pandemic and lockdowns and recession, people still want to get their hair done. Yeah. So find out those 3, 4, 5 ways that people have a rougher life and have more problems during lockdowns, and how you can provide a service to solve those problems and make their lives easier.
So it sounds like the main two, if you want to start your own business or consider going into business for yourself, if there is an upcoming pandemic and you want to start now, start a small cleaning service, a cleaning company,
businesses
with your friends, family. Yeah. Or also become some form of delivery driver. Look into any of those DoorDashes, Uber Eats, all those companies. Or as you said, go directly into like big restaurants or even grocery stores and figure out a way how to become a delivery driver.
Because sometimes people don't want to use DoorDash. Yeah. Some people just want to call the restaurant directly.
Yeah, because DoorDash be taxing.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Right, and so now if you have your own delivery driver,
yeah,
because they're not having to split with
middleman,
right? And then the driver makes money because they're not splitting it with DoorDash either.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, DoorDash was created because businesses couldn't afford to have their own delivery driver. Yeah. But when crisis happen like this, people contract, people want those services, so as the supply and demand goes up, there's not enough supply of drivers, or you can provide a cheaper supply of drivers, maybe direct drivers for that restaurant. That could be an opportunity too. But the thing you got to factor in wear and tear in your car and potentially higher gas prices.
Specifically for yourself, how you decipher whether your business is actually pandemic proof? How do you decipher that?
Yeah, find out what happened to you. Remember what happened to you. Were you depending on Social Security checks, and were you depending on COVID checks? Were you depending on unemployment checks? If you were, you're not pandemic proof. If you took out COVID-19 PPP loan,
those loans,
you're not pandemic proof. We never took PPP loans. We didn't take any government handout. Actually, we qualified for the ERC credit, the employee retention credit that the government's giving us, because we didn't employ. Matter of fact, we expanded our staff. You've seen our staff. Yeah. We've expanded our staff. We've expanded the people that work with us and for us during COVID. So, and by the way, people thought, life insurance is going to go on around. People aren't going to buy life insurance. You know what we figured out during COVID? A spike in life insurance purchases, because people realized, damn, I might die one day.
Yeah.
Just like people have a yearly reminder that they have to file taxes. This is a reminder that, you know what, at mass, at scale, people said, you know what, something might happen to me today. So if you didn't buy life insurance, buy it now. So if you're worried about these, by the way, you don't have to buy it from me just because I own a life insurance company. Go find somebody that can run you a decent quote about life insurance, because life insurance today is extremely cheap. Master P, we had him on in our event earlier this year. And lots of people never thought they can get if you're young in age and healthy, they never thought for $50 a month you can get a $1 million policy. I got my agents at the office all day long writing quotes for people, 10, 15, 20-year, 30-year term policies, $50, $25, $75 a month. Let's say less than $100 a month. They can get anywhere between a $500,000 and $1 million policy if they're healthy and they're in good, height and weight type of standards.
And you pay with your age, right? The younger you are, the more money you can get out of it.
The younger you are, the healthier you are, that's when you get a lot of life insurance. the older you are and less healthy you are, the more ailments you've had, not so good.
For any agent watching this right now, and from coming from your end, there must be a way that these agents who are licensed through whatever state can grab this information, knowing that the younger you are, the less you pay. How can they penetrate the schooling system where they can actually go teach this kind of literacy to high schools, to colleges, whether it's from freshman all the way to senior, and then also in colleges? What strategies can they actually utilize to actually, I don't want to say convince, but be able to collaborate with these schools so that way they can educate these students and also open doors and expand their knowledge on life insurance.
To get through a government agency, to get to talk to the military guys, to talk to the schools, to talk to the teachers, to people that work for the government, is going to be next to impossible to get in there on the blessing and endorsement of the school, because they got the red tape, they got their boys they're taking care of, they got the good old boy system, right? They got the people they're taking care of. I got kicked out of military base because I was giving financial education class, and I'm a veteran. But I was told the base commander says you can't have anybody here but this financial firm, but this firm, USAA, First Command Financial, because they got the good old boy handshake behind closed doors, and they're the only ones that can come into the market. So those are some of the companies as an example. Teachers, same thing too as well. Western and Southern, they get the handshake deal, right? So unions, Torchmark companies, AIL, they get the handshake deal. So only they can go in and talk to those folks. There's less competition.
So you're saying become friends with the school board, superintendents, and union leaders.
But it's too late though. Yes, the long game is yes. But the short game is how to shortcut it. What teacher do you know that has influence amongst the teachers, and then get in during a Teachers Institute Day in a non-official capacity, say, let's talk about financial literacy. By the way, that's how I cut my teeth in 24 years in the insurance business. I get invited to churches, schools, police departments, firehouses. That's how I met Sheena.
Yeah.
I talked to Stroger Hospital, formerly known as Cook County Hospital.
Yeah.
Because it was Nurses Week. So instead of being endorsed by the city of Chicago, I got endorsed by a client. Right? And then she led me to another client, One of those clients, my mom, she led me to Cindy Montgomery. Cindy Montgomery said, hey, listen, he needs to come here, put a booth up during Nurses Week to talk about financial stress. So I split that booth up with a buddy of mine. He's a chiropractor. Health stress test, financial stress test. And in that process, during the workshops for Nurses Week, I got to talk about the 5 gotchas of money. That's how I met Sheena.
When you asked her if she wanted her back manipulated?
That's correct.
Yes.
And took out the
So bottom line, network. Know how to network,
That's
but also
correct.
know what you're providing, what kind of value you're going to provide before you actually start networking. So if not, you're going to be stumbling over your words. So network is the bottom line.
Yeah, for example, like our guys in the NFL. My guys want to get more NFL clients, right? So you can go through the union, the NFLPA, pay your $5,000 a year and go through an extreme background check. But that's not a guarantee that you're going to get NFL clients. The people that get the clients are, okay, you talk to, you get to know somebody at the local gym, you befriend a football player. And if he brings you into a circle, you can see what you can do for him, blah, blah, blah. You do right by him. You honor the relationship. You show extreme gratitude. They just might refer you to other people, right? So you'll get known around the locker room, not necessarily known around the union.
And Miriam just said September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. So
Coming up next month.
It's actually a good month to actually apply some of these principles that Matt's speaking about. So if you're watching this and you're in this industry, do not be scared to network. That's literally you're one person away from, how do you say it? Close the deal? How do you verbalize it?
Yeah, listen, we always say you're only one conversation away from being financially independent.
Yeah, one conversation.
That's it. One conversation from exploding your business. That's keep going, keep working. For example, today, one of my guys is having a hard time growing his business. So I asked him a very, very simple question. What's your daily and weekly marketing and prospecting plan? I still haven't gotten a text message back. Doesn't have one. He's winging it. And you know who you are watching this podcast. If you watch my podcast, you know you're winging your business if you don't have a daily and weekly and monthly marketing plan. I've already got my marketing plan set up for 2024. I know I'm going to announce at our February event. I know I'm going to announce here in 9/19. So I've got the things lined up ahead of, because I'm thinking like a CEO. I'm not thinking like a sales guy, just looking to try to fill a quota. You got to elevate your business from thinking just like a sales guy to becoming a sales leader, to becoming a business owner, to becoming a CEO. That's the progression. Just because you put CEO on your business card doesn't mean you're a CEO. You got to be driven by your next innovative campaigns. You got to be driven by your operations and your systems and process. You got to be driven by your leadership development. You got to be driven by your networking and having a solid marketing plan. So these are things to grow your business, something to think about as you're scaling from somebody making $50,000 a year, 100,000 here, 250, 500,000 to 7 figures, 8 figures. I want to ask you a question though.
Hit me.
So there's a video speaking about health, because a lot of guys we did push-ups on Tuesday at our office, right? You know how we did. I had Charlie Kirk do push-ups in front of 10,000. Yeah, we're getting it up.
Okay,
it's gonna be up by tomorrow. One of the guys mentioned to me last night, he says, Matt, you know, we had us do push-ups on Tuesday, bro. I'm last Saturday, and it was Tuesday night last night. He said, bro, I'm still sore. Bro, we only did 22 push-ups.
Wow.
We only did 20, and bro, I'm still sore. Bro, you act like you had a workout. So, you know, we talk about men being strong, and there's nothing wrong with being masculine. And it doesn't necessarily mean toxic. Just because you're masculine doesn't mean it's toxic. You're a man. Express yourself. So a lot of men, however, are very frustrated. They go to the gym, don't get any results. That's why people quit the gym on New Year's resolution, quit the gym by March. So there's this video here that I want your opinion on of the reality of how long it actually takes to build strength and muscle. Can we take a look at the video?
Building muscle naturally takes years. Even if you did everything perfectly and were doing 90% of the work required, it would take a minimum of 2 to 3 years of consistency to achieve your goal physique, even with great genetics. And the average person only does 50% of the work, inconsistently.
Only 50% of the work. You know why? Because they don't got a trainer, baby.
They don't got a trainer.
They got a coach.
They don't got a plan.
You need somebody to hold you accountable. I was telling the guys, listen, if I go to the gym and I don't have any accountability, I get bored at the gym.
Yeah.
Because when I go to the gym, I want to make sure I go to the gym, and that's the 1 hour or 2 hours a day that I don't have to think about anything. All the decisions I got to make as a dad, as an entrepreneur, I don't want to think about what's my next exercise or what's my how should I progress, eccentric, concentric, whatever the words you use when you're training. And by the way, guys, I highly recommend you hire a trainer that went to public school that doesn't know how to count. Right here.
Shout out Proviso West High School.
This guy right here. This guy.
Hillside, Illinois, Proviso West Township. Shout out.
So what's your opinion on 2 to 3 years to build muscle?
Well, it takes time, man. Just like when you're trying to construct a big Lego set. I'm not sure if you do that with JoJo or
For sure.
brain fart. JoJo and
Jordan.
Sorry,
Yeah.
JoJo or Jordan. It takes time. Or even watching a small plant grow. It takes time. When you exercise, not to get too in depth with this, so people can actually understand it. You create these tiny tears in your muscles that your body fixes over time, which makes them a lot stronger. And it takes 2-3 years to see significant muscle changes, but it's in combination with being able to eat well, sleeping enough, which will help the process, aka the recovery. Just like with patients in care, your muscles will become stronger and cool over time. But there are actually a couple things that you need to understand that it takes to build muscle. It takes time. That's an obvious thing. Number 2, it takes effort. You need to put in the effort in the gym. You need to be able to challenge them when you're in the gym as well. That's why hiring a trainer or having a workout buddy that keeps you accountable or is there to push you for that extra 2-3 reps is going to also help you. The materials that are needed, supplementation and food, knowing what to eat, when to eat it, how to eat it is definitely very, very important. There is such thing as quality foods versus foods that you can consume and they're not as high in quality as they should be. As I'm staring myself in this camera, that looks kind of nice, man. You see that?
Get some, baby.
You see that, right?
Get some. Look at that.
What do you think, Jordan? Decent? All right.
Yes, nice. Very nice.
All right. And, sorry. The last 3, consistency. A lot of people expect muscle growth. I was flexing really hard. It's been a while since I worked out.
Double bicep post.
Consistency. A lot of people think that within 2-3 months.
That's a big one.
I had a client of mine walk in a couple days ago saying, man, Milton, I don't get it. I've been working out for 2 weeks. I don't understand. I don't see progress. I'm like, let me ask you, Joe Schmo, how long did it take you to get to this position you're in? What do you mean? Yeah, how long did it take you to get to the weight that you're at right now? It took me about 20 years. So you expect to lose the weight and gain muscle in 2 weeks and reverse the negativity that you added onto your body over these last 20 years in 2 weeks. It's not gonna happen. So you need consistency. You need to be able to consistently be adaptable. So if your body's sore or if you're an entrepreneur who's consistently getting your schedule changed, you need to learn to adapt. When people have a set schedule and something knocks them off their schedule, they immediately get discouraged. Say, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm sick. I got kids now. I got a job now. They make all these excuses when in reality, they need to learn how to be adaptable. And the final thing is have a plan. Like I tell all my clients, reverse engineering is one hell of a thing when it comes down to physical goals. Have a plan, understand what your goal is. The problem is, Matt, a lot of people start at the very beginning and walk towards a plan without knowing how to get there at first. But when you want to actually get to the goal and attain it, create a goal, start at the goal, reverse engineer it, aka start there, walk back to the very beginning, understanding every step that you need to take to get to that point, and then walk back towards the goal, and you'll have a lot more success in your endeavors when it comes down to this.
One of my biggest motivations of wanting to get back in the gym, outside of the personal reasons, of the aesthetic reasons, right? To look a certain way, that was really a third or fourth reason. But I realized that, brother, my knees were shot, 17 years of gout, inflammation, scar tissue, 2 torn patella tendons, 40% torn without getting surgery after leaving the military. I'm in bad shape. I never went to my VA to get benefits or surgery. And I really didn't take care of myself for 17 years, 18 years post leaving the military. And so 2019, I'm sitting, talking about an environment. We're going to talk about environment here in a second. But I sat next to Phil Heath, Mr. 7-time Mr. Olympia. Yeah. Right? So I wonder if I have the picture here. I sat next to Phil Heath, okay? And I'm sitting next to this guy, and he's taking notes, right? Can we share my screen? Okay, so I sit next to Phil Heath. Right? This is at the Vault.
2019?
2019. Now look at this guy, 7-time Mr. Olympia. The only person to do that was Arnold Schwarzenegger. He did it 7 times. And so I'm sitting next to him, right, at the Vault. Let me see if I can show another picture. There it is. Taking notes, okay? And his forearms, as he was taking notes, was jumping. I thought, bro, what do you have in your forearm? Is it like a hamster? You got like a hamster in your forearm, right? He's looking at my notes. We're sharing notes. I'm watching his forearm taking notes, right? And so, anywho, after this, I said, something's got to change in my life. Something's got to change. I mean, look at me. I can't remember last. Yeah, 2009. That's the last year I wore that suit.
Do you have any update pictures of you? I know you do.
What's that?
Any update pictures of yourself?
Any update? Oh yeah.
I know you do.
So we got that reality. It was like, I need to be different, because now Jordan was just born, and I realized this kid's about to be running one day, and I can't run after this kid. I can't chase him. I can't run. And so that was my motivation to get and on top of that, my business. I need to feed my other baby, which is my business, my Bay Shop, my new Carrollton office.
Yeah.
I need energy. These guys got me running to 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. I can't be the guy who comes home at 9, 10 o'clock, falls asleep. Sometimes I need to go to 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night, because certain things just need to be buttoned up. And people say, well, is it worth it? Balance, Matt, balance. Yeah, okay. I wasn't balancing my checkbook, for sure. I was constantly in a negative, so it wasn't balanced, great. But my income, that wasn't balanced. And me as a dad, as a father, not being able to provide and protect, there was no balance, because I was out of balance. Remember when you asked me to get, it's going to sound weird when I say this. You had me do a work, you said, get on your knees.
In a non-homosexual way.
He said, get on your knees, man. And I'm like, what? And anyway, make a long story short, man, I just realized the other day, I can say this because, I'm married. But, my wife and I were having, extracurricular activities. And I realized, damn, I got in a position I realized I can get in because my knees weren't hurting.
Shout out Milton.
But at the same time, too, the last thing I was thinking about was Milton at that time. I was like, thank God my knees are operating this way, man.
Wasn't that why your back was also killing you when we first started? Since you've been dragging around your third leg all the time?
That's correct. By the way, my back, you train my back. My back's still an issue.
Yeah.
So it's still an issue. So we're still working on my back. But that's taken years.
Yeah, your back's messed up because what you do for a living.
Yeah, that too. And he's constantly having me stretch, and before we bring out workout, I call it the people's elbow.
Every single person in your company, in your hierarchy, is considered a tight ass.
Because
literally.
We're sitting down all the time.
Metaphorically and literally.
Jordan, can you check your email real quick? I sent you a video. I want to see if we can play. But yeah, everybody. So what can you tell folks that are in sedentary careers and jobs? For example, we're always in a boardroom. We're driving to and from appointments. We get to the appointment, we're sitting in the client's house, we're sitting in the boardroom at the office we're at. So we're up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. How can we have a better back issues and not have such a tight ass?
Release 2 things, activate 1 thing. You need to be able to stretch your glutes, not your cheeks, your glutes. You need to be able to stretch them. Stretch your glutes maybe 2-3 times a day. Being able to release your hips. And if you have one of those, want to play? Want to play?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
When we're done.
Be able to release your hips. If you have it's called a Soul Right, PSO, right, RITE. You can find that on Amazon. If you have one of those Soul Right tools, it will help you release your psoas muscle, which also causes lower back issues. So releasing your glutes and releasing your hip flexors and your psoas will help you release that tension, which will also release your lower back. And also, even though a lot of people, on contrary to belief, being able to strengthen your core and also your lower back, your erectors, is very, very important. So that way you can protect your back and bulletproof it long term.
So this is the reason I took this video. We're about to see this video here. The reason why I want to stay in shape. I got home 9, 10 o'clock at night. I realized that Jordan's still awake. Boy, we're doing still awake. You're gonna be in bed. Yeah. But this kid just loves it when I just wrestle him before he goes to bed. Mm-hmm. So to set up this video, I come home. I see my kid just waiting for me. I haven't ate yet. I haven't ate all day. You know, it's sometimes bad. And I'm like, you know what? This kid wants me to chase him. So let's take a look at this video. What happened? When I come home, this boy, before you dinner, likes to get chased. Jordan, 3, 2. What? That's why I want to work out, bro.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
I want to work out, man. That's it. That's my motto. What's your motto? You're watching this. What's your motivation getting working out? Outside just you aesthetically looking, that's gonna come. That's a byproduct of you getting in shape. But what's your? You know, we say this in finance all the time. What's your why? Why do you want to get in shape? Once you're clear about that, and you put that destination in your physical GPS, not just your financial GPS, and then ask you what you put the address in the GPS. You ask, you want to get there fast? You want to not take tolls, or you want to get there slow? Your choice of how you want to get there towards your physical goals. Because I tell you this, Deion Sanders said this when we were interviewing him. Says if you look good, if you look good, you play good. You play good, they pay you good. And they pay you good, that's all good. Was that good enough, Deion Sanders?
Love it. I love it. Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
1 to 10. Tell me 1 to 10 rate. All right, let's move on to another topic here. Speaking of our physical bodies, Amber Rose, who'd she used to date? She did Kanye, right?
I think
Wiz
Khalifa.
Okay.
Wiz Khalifa.
Yeah. Okay. So she's dated a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And she's got a slut walk in L.A. So she gets on this podcast with Jesse Lee Peterson, and they're debating. She is obviously a woman. She's a feminist. Mm-hmm. Jesse Lee Peterson is conservative as you can get. Probably, a lot of people say he's right wing, even though he's black, raised in Alabama during the Jim Crow era. Older guy. So here's his opinion and her opinion of what a slut is. Let's take a look at this video.
Going out on a date with a guy makes me a slut, then that's just what I'm going to be.
I don't think going out on a date makes you a slut, but having sex with different men makes you a slut.
Well, what does it make you if you have sex with different women?
A slut maker.
We're going to get canceled. No. We're going to get canceled for this. We don't mean to offend anybody watching this. If you are in multiple open-ended relationships that you feel that you can sleep around with a lot of people, and you resonate with this and relate to this, we've asked for forgiveness. We didn't mean to call you a slut.
But is there a double standard? Right? There's a double standard with men. There's a double standard with that, and then people say, "Well, that's the way it is." Matt, you break down King Solomon on Ecclesiastes and Proverbs every Sunday night on YouTube channel. He had 700 wives. He had 300 side chicks. He had thousands of kids. I know. You know, his father, he had mighty men. What did King Solomon have? He had mighty women. But what happened at the end of his life? We're going under Ecclesiastes right now. What happened? King Solomon says in Ecclesiastes, it was all meaningless. It was all meaningless. It's like chasing after the wind. A life without a God-centered eternal perspective is meaningless. So yeah, you can have a very expensive dating life, and you could be a slut, and you could be a slut maker, you can be a slut yourself, whatever you want to call it, both sides. Knock yourself out. I promise you this. If you want to be a slut, you want to be a slut maker, I promise you this. Financially speaking, you're getting nowhere. It's very expensive to go out and date and have multiple relationships. And the physical taxing, the mental taxing of having multiple relationships, thinking that they won't know unless it's an open relationship. And do you really trust an open relationship? How can you trust an open relationship? Once I have a physical image of what my wife looks like, I can never see her again if she was to sleep with somebody else, or even kiss somebody else, or even flirt with somebody else, right? In passing with somebody else. If I see that once, done. I'm done. Over, right? By the way, Sheena knows that, and she knows that about me too as well. We have those boundaries established to honor each other. You know, Charlie Kirk says, when you get married, a man dresses in a black tux. Or also when he dies, he's in a black tux. Why? Because he's died to his former self, because now he's serving his wife, he's serving his family, he's serving his ancestors, he's serving his descendants. He's deserving this purpose that God has in his life. So a lot of those things you did, what does the scripture say? When I was a child, I thought like a child. But now that I'm an adult, now I'm a male, I can't think like that any longer. Now I'm a man. Now I've got purpose. Now I've got a responsibility. And once you step with those responsibilities, if you want freedom in your life, guess what? There's also discipline. And if you don't want to have any discipline in life, guess what? You'll never have freedom.
I'm still single, so yes, correct, yes. I'm listening, I'm paying attention, I'm taking notes, I'm listening to everything you're saying.
Love it. What's your thought? Yeah, go ahead.
No, but I wanted to tie in this next topic to exactly what you're talking about. So for the men who relate to me, or for the men who are in marriages and you're pursuing someone, you're courting somebody, or you're married, you're dating, whatever the case may be, how do we keep a relationship nice and smooth, and how do we help the women that we're pursuing feel understood and heard? Because I know that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people have a hard time with, which is communication. Yeah. So the question is, as a man, how do you become an ultimate communicator so that you can conquer the art of communicating when it comes down to women? And I have 3 things for men and maybe 2 things that women can use to decipher. And maybe
I tell you what I learned in sales.
Okay.
I got to figure out what language they speak. In our sales training, we have STAR training, right? Mm-hmm. STAR. Are they systematically thinking? Are they theory-oriented thinking? Are they action-oriented thinking? Or are they relationship thinking, right? S's are very organized. T's like to solve problems. A's like to take action all the time, bing, 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 right? I'm that guy. R loves to help people, serve people, like to hug trees. So I have to figure out how my wife is wired. And then you go to the other book, which is the 5 love languages. So now you know what language she's speaking, right? Now I need to speak in that language. So continue. I take it from there.
Yeah. So exactly. Running with that, piggybacking off of that. For men, you need to be able to, and you can, give me pushback if you want to. Men, you need to be able to understand that women and men don't think the same. Men think in straight lines. Women tend to think in circles. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Men are very direct. You say something, what we say, we mean very directly.
It's logical. We're more logical.
With women, they think in circles.
Yeah.
They say something, but they mean like 15 other things. And as men, we can't comprehend that.
Yeah.
Right? We're not mind readers.
Yep.
Number 2, don't assume she wants her problems fixed. Most women just want to be heard.
That's
you being
correct.
married, what do you think?
Oh, I asked babe when my wife is sounding off about something. I was like, okay, is this the moment right now you want to listen to me or you want an answer? Yeah, just hear me out.
Okay. Cool,
no problem.
All right, next one. Exactly what you just did right there. Ask questions. This is one of my biggest downfalls in my early 20s. Ask questions. Men, we're dealing with complex beings. Ask a lot of questions to gain clarity. Hey, babe, what did you mean by that? How can I make you feel understood? What can I do to comfort you? And number 4, piggybacking off what you said, understand what the 6 human needs are, especially where her needs are. She needs met at that specific time. Is this a new situation, or has it been a situation that's been dragged out for a while, and how can you decipher that? How can you make her feel loved during these moments of communication? And how can you make her feel heard, which is understanding her 5 love languages? And what was the first technique that you utilized?
Figure out how she is wired, right? Figure out what language she speaks, and then speaking that. So figure out what language she speaks, what type of personality type, and then speaking the language of that personality type.
So for the ladies, and again, same thing for you, Matt, you let me know what you think of this. You need to understand the following if you want your relationship with your man or future man to work smoothly. For all the single ladies out there, for the ladies who are in current relationships right now. Men work well with direct orders. Example, if you come with your man and tell him, it would be nice one day for this room to be painted. He's going to look around and say, yeah, it would be nice one day. And he's going to leave it at that. And in your mind, you're expecting to do it that same day or that same week. A week's going to go by, 2 weeks going to go by, a month's going to go by. It's not going to get done, and they're going to be upset. And he's not going to understand why you're upset 2 weeks down the line, and then that's where the argument comes along. Instead of saying that, versus, hey, babe, is there can you paint the room today or on this exact date? When we receive direct orders on exactly what you want done, when you want it done, we respond a lot better. What do you think as a married man?
Yeah, of course. I mean, absolutely. And that's why women also have the tendency to have long lists.
Yes.
Right? Men, we don't have long lists.
Not at all.
We can't even remember what we said 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's one of the big lessons my father taught me. He didn't teach me a lot. You know, like my father didn't really sit and have a lot of these one-on-one conversations. You know that, but my dad being around, and you watching my dad be around.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a lot of these. I have more dialogue with Sheena's dad than I have my own dad, and you know that's something I'm working through. That's something my dad's working through. But what he did teach me a long time ago is, listen, live a life of integrity. If you're going to say you're going to do something, go do it. Otherwise, don't say it. There's more power in no than there is in yes. More freedom. I mean, so when you're looking at how we go about our relationships, right? It's a combination of, for example, I know the way you train your clients. There's a certain way you talk. So therefore, when I explain things to you, I gotta go ba. Story, right? Guys like me, story, ba.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's how we perceive the world.
Right.
That's our personality.
So final one, and Jordan, this is going to involve the video on why women live longer. So, and number 2, ladies, some men can't get through a day without using brute force as an answer. And then check out this video.
Which is exactly what we at John West want.
Damn, bro. That could be. Yeah. What is it? What is this, Tekken? Is this Tekken? Bam! Okay.
So this is exactly why I feel the reason why life insurance was invented was because of men. Us men, we don't do things very rationally sometimes. We just do a lot of it through brute force. That being said, we aren't always very bright in knowing what women want. Yeah. So don't assume that we know what it is you want. You need to be able to speak up. So don't assume your man knows what you're thinking. We aren't mind readers. Speak up and make sure you verbalize exactly what it is you want us to do and how you feel, so that way we can completely understand you. And make sure you kind of break it down sometimes. Because again, men, I say, hey man, I'm feeling good, or I'm feeling okay. And I'm feeling okay.
Yep.
A woman tells you, hey babe, I'm feeling okay. And then she's like, has 14 different things going on in the back of her head. And you're like, oh, she's okay. And you move on with your day. And the moment you move on with your day and you completely ignore what she could potentially be going through, that's where all hell breaks loose. Yep. But you coming from a married man, what do you think of that?
You have to be very aware that the way you're going to approach life is not going to be hers. Because here's the thing. We've mentioned too, because men don't talk to each other, and obviously there's a breakdown in communication sometimes between men and women, a lot. Communication in a relationship is an ongoing life thing. You're not going to be able to figure each other out. You got to figure out what you can tolerate, what you can't tolerate, with areas that you can potentially compromise with. Because I don't expect it to be my way the highway. I got to work together with my wife too as well. There's give and take. Now, there's certain non-negotiables. Yeah. Like for example, last night, there's certain thing that happened. I said, listen, you cross the non-negotiable. You cannot ever talk to me like that in front of people. Not ever do that in front of people, right? And so she apologized to me in private. I said, no, you can't apologize to me in private, because it was done in public. And vice versa too. I've offended my wife in public. I had to apologize to her in public, because it doesn't mean anything with text message. So we can communicate, but are we communicating? We're in a relationship, but are we in a relationship? Those are the things we have to be in, and also understand how we define and evolve.
So for the people who find this to be extremely complicated and you just don't feel like going through the emotional hassle, Jordan, can we go to the second video for the robot? That's the second link.
Wonderful.
Yeah, the second link.
If you think these girls are for real, take a closer look. These are masterpieces of state-of-the-art robotics technology of EX Robotics. I have already made a video on these bots, but here I would like to add a few more notable features of these robots, which makes them stand apart from their counterparts. The best part about these bots is that their skin is made of medical-grade bionic silicone, which makes the skin so lifelike that they can even get goosebumps when they want to. And not just that, these robots are made from companies' own manufactured, patented robotic bones, making them the lightest person of their kind in the world. EX Robotics aims to make customizable bionic robots, which means you can get a robot according to your own needs and desired specifications and looks.
if you don't want to deal with a human woman, for all you gentlemen out there, or you feel you can't get an actual human woman, in the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to have hope where you can customize your own girlfriend how you want.
Well, they have it right now. They have fake AI Instagram models that actually have an interaction with you, and guys are making a ton of money off that.
Could you imagine one of your agents walks into your household one day, you guys are having an after party or a housewarming or something along those lines, and one of your agents, probably going to be Laquan Butler, but one of your agents walks in with
Laquan
walks in with a new woman. No disrespect to what is going on right now, but a new woman, and it happens to be a robot.
That's weird.
How weird would it be where your BOM events Tuesdays and Saturdays now will be filled with robotic entities?
Yeah, you've given up on life, man. To manipulate things to conform to you. That's to live your life. I get it for things around the house, but to have a relationship with something that's not even real.
Oh, they have a conscience according to you can customize them to speak, to think, to act how you want them to act.
But they'll never have a spirit. It's not real.
Yeah.
They can have artificial intelligence. But you know what I need? Do you know why insurance people will never be replaced? Why doctors will never be replaced? Why attorneys will never be replaced? Here's why they'll never be replaced. It's not about artificial intelligence. It's about emotional intelligence. I can never believe or trust a robot. I can have a fantasy.
Yeah.
But I can never believe and trust or have that type of entity lead me in any aspect of my life outside of my own selfish desires behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So we'll never be. So yeah, part being a pandemic-proof business too as well, or an artificial intelligence-proof business too as well, is having something where your emotional intelligence or your life and your spirit can be expressed and lead people. That's scary. By the way, I believe a lot of this for soldiers.
Yeah.
Right? Soldiers, but then again, soldiers can screw up. Robotic soldiers can screw up. Yeah, they may not understand what an enemy is because there's no empathy. They see a little baby, they don't see baby, they see a little person. So, how do you program that? When you see the movie American Sniper, where he was on the scope and he saw the child coming up, he took his finger off the trigger. Why? Because that's a kid.
Yeah.
If that's a robot, robot's not thinking that way. Rules of engagement, fire somebody that's a kid, right? That's what makes us human. And so, as these things continue to evolve, watch out, everybody. The real humans have an opportunity to win. Just as long as you don't give these robots damn voting power. That's all I'm saying.
That'd be the day. That'd be the day.
Speaking of this next topic here, I'm going to bring up this topic here. You need to be in a better environment. I brought this up. I got this from Pastor Keith Kraft this Sunday. So if you really want to be in relationship, if you really want to perform, you're thinking that how do I get to the next level of my life? You got to find yourself in the right environment. So let's take a look at this article here from Kellogg. This is from the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University in Chicago, where we're from. And in this article, it says, sitting near a high performer can make you better at your job. You're not a high performer, but sitting near a high performer can make you better at your job. Researchers looked at the 25-foot radius around high performers at a large technology firm and found that these workers boosted performance in coworkers by 15%. So just being around high performers, you're already thinking bigger. How many times have you seen our guys at our office, and they're like, "Yo, man, you make $100,000. Congratulations." What our guys, because of our high performance environment, I don't know if you've caught the side jokes that they've had when they say, "Okay, congratulations." By the way, if you're part of the PHP agency family, part of the Money Smart movement, congratulations, make $100,000 a year. And then what's our follow-up statement?
What's next?
Right. What's next? Some people say, "Bro, that's my dream to make $100,000 a year." What do we say also? What's next? Because 100K is minimum wage. You think, I've never made $100,000 before in my life, right? You were at the vault last year. You were on our guys. You're yanking in 250, 300,000. How did you feel around our guys making 500,000, 750, $1 million, $2 million? How did you feel?
I'm doing something wrong.
But yet your entire family, you're the most financially successful.
I met a guy who makes what I make in a year, what he makes that in a day. That's when I knew, I'm screwing up. There's something that I'm not doing right.
Cool. So the flip side of being around high performers is you want to improve.
Level up.
So here's a flip side. Back to the article, Jordan, please. The flip side is that bad eggs impact their neighbors too. Negative spillover from so-called toxic workers is even more pronounced, sometimes having twice the magnitude of impact on profits as spillover. So in other words, if you're on high performers, it's 15% positive, but around the wrong environment, negative 30%. So which environment do you want to be a part of? So if you're ever invited to come into an environment that's a bunch of high performers, you want to perform more. You know, we work out at another gym on Mondays, usually because it's closer to the office phone zone.
Yeah.
But inside that gym, there's a bunch of high performers there, right?
Physically.
Physically,
Yeah,
correct.
physically.
Guys are there jacked. Women are jacked. They're pushing weight. And I feel this small because you put me on that. What's my least favorite exercise, that machine? The weights are behind me and you got me going like this.
Pendulum squat.
Pendulum squat.
Yeah.
I hate that machine because I feel it in my knees all the time. Next thing you know, a woman gets on and she puts three damn plates on. I'm like, what am I doing wrong, man? But what does it make me want to do? Makes me want to level up because this woman is kicking my tail. Okay? So if somebody asks you, hey, man, get in this environment, qualify for this. That's why we have an environment at our office at Money Smart Movement at PHP. Qualify for everything. Because when we qualify for everything, guess what happens when you're in that environment? You feel respect for being qualified to get in there. You also have respect amongst your peers. And now you have a higher level of competition. So the flip side to that is it was easier to do, play the blame game, play the pity party, play the entitlement game, force yourself not to level up. If you don't like taking feedback to improve your life, that says a lot about you. If you love taking feedback to improve your performance, that also says a lot about you. And one of the topics of conversation that a lot of people want is that they want to have this retirement sooner than later. So let's take a look at this video, Jordan, about something called reverse retirement. Let's take a look at this video.
Don't wake me up, not dreaming. Past times could never hold me down. Lost down, sweeter when it's finally found. I got the strangest feeling. This isn't our first time around. Past times could never come between us. Sometimes the dreamers finally wake up. Don't wake me up, not dreaming. Don't wake me up, not dreaming. Past times could never hold me down.
Okay. So the premise is they work really, really hard for a year and they saved up all the money so that for the next year they can just retire. The next year they go back to work, minimal lifestyle, save up everything so therefore the next year they can retire. They rent an RV, they don't go fly commercial, they don't fly planes, they don't stay in hotels, they stay in an RV. By the way, very cool idea. I noticed they didn't have any kids either.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts about reverse retirement?
Well, we saw-
Checking out, checking in, checking out, checking in, checking out, checking in.
Honestly, I'd probably feel a little bit safer just having a remote job. I know, for me, I'm still.
The consistency of it?
Yeah, I get it. It's great, and the idea of what they're doing is amazing. Like that's, I think, a dream that a lot of people want to be able to attain, where you can have that financial freedom and freedom in general, that you can go wherever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want, at any time that you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's why people work really, really hard. What you guys are doing to buy back your time. That's what we work hard to be able to buy back your time and do what it is you want. Some people do it because they want the freedom to do that. Some people do it because they want to create something, and then whatever they end up creating creates more of that, right? And delayed gratification. But me personally, if I'm doing that, then I want to have some form of secure remote, at least something remote where I'm like, okay, I'm in control of my income right now. If I want to make money right now, I'll go on my laptop right now and do it right now, and I can still do that just without taking a full year off. I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you're in that mode, you haven't really found out what you love to do yet.
No.
You know, so I mean, I happen to love what I do. I happen to love what we do at the office. I happen to love what we do across the country. I absolutely love it. When we're on quote unquote vacation or tax deductible business trips, we call them, I feel like I'm missing out. And everybody in the last day of the trip, you know what we're all itching for? Can't wait to get back. When you don't love what you do, guess what happens? I don't want to go back. So, which leads me to my next point. If you want to be this type of person, if you want this to make a reality, you got to have some smart moves with your money. You're properly saving and putting in ways your money can grow. Michael Burry, if you guys don't know Michael Burry, can we look this up? We'll wrap up with this one last topic. So Dr. Michael Burry is the guy that predicted the stock market crash in 07, 08, the Great Recession. At that time, people thinking, this guy, Dr. Michael Burry, you're nuts. He got these banks to issue basically insurance called credit default swaps, that these mortgage-backed securities that they were selling on stock market, which were filled with people making 15, 20, 30-year mortgages, that they were never, ever going to stop paying their mortgage if the market crisis was to continue. What we discover? They discovered that what? People stopped paying their mortgages. foreclosure rates went high. People are underwater, we call reverse negative equity. And he made a ton of money, made billions of dollars on making that call, making that correction. Well, we've been in the largest economic expansion in the history of the United States in the last 14 years. Make a long story short, last Monday, Dr. Michael Burry makes another bet again and says there is a stock market loss. But all the analysts say, dude, he's wrong. I don't know. When he's a guy out there that's predicted this and constantly being talked to, and by the way, by nature, he's a weird guy, very smart guy. He won't make a bet like this. So he bet $1.6 billion against the S&P and NASDAQ last quarter. A lot of people say he's a one-trick pony, and his wager's a loser. This analyst, Mark Shakin, said. Past bears were shrewder, more influential, and had better track records than Burry. So he's a bear market investor. But however, this $1.6 billion, from what I understand, obviously we'll continue doing research and driving deep on this topic, but apparently 90% of his portfolio is on this one bet. So he's not like trying to trickle in like this might never happen. No, he's saying I have a 90% shot that I'm putting my money where my mouth is, that this might go wrong. So in addition to what's going on with COVID, in addition to what's going on in the stock market, these are things we need to be aware of, because if you have money inside your 401k plan, last year people lost 20%. This year it's starting to tick back up again, but it's only driven by 7 companies in the S&P 500. If you remove these 7 companies this year in 2023 through the growth of the S&P 500, we'd have a 0.8% return in the S&P 500. The only reason why we're up this year in the S&P 500 is because of these 7 companies like Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, et cetera, et cetera. So have a conversation of a defensive strategy when it comes to your savings in your retirement plans, but also have an offensive strategies, how to replace income from the circumstances we talked about earlier in the show. So that being said, what are your thoughts?
On this specific topic, I'm going to act extremely ignorant, and I'm going to ask you a basic question. How does the general population get affected by this? And maybe what are like 3 things they can actually do actively to make sure that they don't get affected by this heavily?
Very simple. Last recession, we jokingly said people's 401ks turned into 201ks. So if you got your money inside a 401k plan, you got your money inside home equity, potentially you might have a loss in all that. So I'd have a defensive strategy. I've always said this. I took this from military training. Plan for the worst, but expect the best. So even if the worst case scenario doesn't happen, you're ready for you know what. So I'm not saying the sky's falling. That's not the way we market our businesses or we market our podcast. But these things is something you just need to be aware of, because when guys like this, with this type of track record over their whole entire lifetime, makes calls like this, you got to pay attention. The whole marketplace pays attention to a guy like this. So again, have a defensive strategy. If you've been saving money, you've been paying off your house, you've been diligent in your work, you've been diligent in your savings, you've been diligent in paying your mortgage. These are assets that a lot of people build wealth in. These are assets now that you have to protect in case the worst case scenario happens, because a lot of people didn't do it in 07, 08, 09. By the way, I keep receipts. This is a newspaper from what date, Milton? November
25th, 2008.
This is when Obama was making some shots. Here's his 5 keys to get the economy back on track. This was an abysmal failure in 07, 08, 09. It was called the Great Recession. And this guy right here is a picture of a guy that's losing his house. So with that being said, though, it was also followed up by the greatest economic expansion in the history of America. So when noise is happening, a lot of people that are playing offense, they run towards the noise and find out what the opportunities are. They find out what the problems are. They find out what the opportunities are. When can I apply myself? Because in those moments, the seeds of greatness and the seeds of future millionaires and billionaires are being birthed and planted at that moment. So that being said, guys, got a lot of other things to talk about, man, but we just ran out of time. But every Wednesday here, noon, Central Standard Time here, the Millionaire Goals Podcast YouTube channel, we are going to spend some time with you and help you understand what's going on in the marketplace, so therefore you can stay ahead. Large part about wealth building is anticipation. And once you start anticipating a lot more things outside of just finances in life, so therefore you can get to a position where you want, where you have wealth, health, prosperity, and happiness. So that being said, Milton, appreciate you, big dog.
It was a pleasure.
See you next Wednesday. Till we meet again. Drop your thoughts, comments, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Till we meet again. Continue to live smart. Continue to love smart. And be money smart today. See you next week. Bye-bye.